Clock in with me for 5 minutes, because this one touches your paycheck, your grocery cart, and the mortgage rate you were promised. The Treasury Secretary has spent the whole year running one line: the tariffs did not raise your prices. Tariff inflation, he says, was the dog that didn't bark. Cute line. Well, on Wednesday, the Federal Reserve published the minutes of its June meeting, and I have read them. And I'm here to tell you, the dog is in there, and it is barking on every page. Let's go through it together. The claim, in the man's own words, twice. In February, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told the House that the warnings about tariffs raising prices, including his own warnings, had been refuted. Quote, "Tariff inflation was the dog that didn't bark." And in June, on CNBC, still running it. People like to say it's added to inflation, but when you look at the data, the structural inflation has been in services. When you look at the data, hold that phrase, because we are about to do exactly that with his administration's own data. Now the referee. The Federal Reserve is chaired, as of this year, by a Trump appointee. This is the administration's own central bank, its own umpire, nobody's resistance. And on Wednesday, its June meeting minutes went public. The minutes attribute the rise in inflation, quote, to the lingering effects of tariffs. They describe the price pressures as more broad-based. And the staff estimate for May puts total inflation at 4.1%, core at 3.4%. That is the bark, friends. Printed, published on the referee's own letterhead. And watch what the committee itself did, because a central bank talks with its feet. The language about easing, the stuff rate cut hopes are made of, is gone from these minutes. A few participants saw a case for raising rates at that very meeting, and the projections tell you where the center of gravity moved. Of the 18 policymakers who submitted a rate path, 9 now expect at least one hike by the end of the year. 8 expect a hold. Exactly one still expects the cut the administration keeps promising you. 9 to 8 to 1. Look at that chart and tell me the dog was quiet. Now the fair part, the whole sentence, because we do not clip quotes on this channel. The same minutes expect inflation to come back down as the effects of tariffs and energy prices wane. The Fed is not saying tariffs are the only driver. The Iran war has done its own ugly work on energy prices, and it is not saying the effect is permanent. Fine, all of that is fair, and none of it rescues the claim. A fading effect is still in effect. The honest argument is about how long the barking lasts. There is no version of that argument, none, that matches the sentence, "It never barked at all." So why does the Treasury Secretary need the dog to be silent? Because the whole tariff program lives or dies on whether you can see its cost. The revenue is real, the politics work, exactly as long as the price at your register stays deniable. The moment the tariff shows up in the inflation number on the government's own paper, it stops being a tax on foreigners and becomes what it always was, a tax on your cart. The dog that didn't bark is not an observation, friends. It is the sentence that keeps the tax invisible. And from the docket, because we have been building this file all week. 2 days ago, Madeline showed you what the record tariff revenue actually is. A tax collected from American households, about $700 a year each, with the biggest slice ruled unlawful and owed back. Now line the two stories up. First, they told you foreigners pay the tariff. Then they told you it never raised a price. Same tax, 2 denials, and both of them came apart on the government's own paperwork. When every version of the story requires you not to read the documents, read the documents. Here's what this costs you, and none of it is abstract. You are paying 4.1% inflation on the cart, while the man who runs the Treasury tells you the tariff in the price is a myth. The rate cuts you were promised, the mortgage relief, the car loan, the credit card, just repriced toward a hike. 9 dots to 1. And the minutes carry one more line, the quiet one. Lower income households, the Fed observed, are increasingly relying on credit just to maintain spending. Read that again. The bill is being paid, friends. It is being paid on a credit card by the people with the least room, while the dog officially stays silent. Bottom line, no spin either direction. Did tariff inflation bark? The Fed's own minutes, under a chair this administration picked, attribute the inflation rise to the lingering effects of tariffs at 4.1%, with pressures spreading. Will it fade? The Fed thinks so, and I hope they are right. But a tax you are told is imaginary is a tax you cannot vote on, argue about, or plan around. And that is the whole point of the silent dog routine. Watch the minutes, not the microphone. Take this one to work tomorrow. I'm Marcus, and this is Pixel Politics.